Hi, I'm Rick Carvello for Red River College. I'm going to show you how to test an RP. The first thing we have to do is notify the occupants of the building that we are going to be turning off their water. We're going to have to identify that we are actually testing the right device by looking at the serial number on the rating plate. And we are going to observe to ensure that this device is installed in the correct orientation and there are no cross connections attached to the piping. So the first thing I want to do is, so I don't prematurely dump the RP, is to open up test cock number 4 and allow it to drip a little bit, because I don't really want to prematurely dump this reduced pressure zone in here. So I've opened up test cock number 4, and then I'm going to bleed test cocks 1, 2, and 3 to blow out any debris that may be in the test cocks, because this device has been sitting for a while. I've blown down my test cocks. I am going to hook up my high hose to test cock number 2 and my low hose to test cock number 3. Now I'm going to open up test cock number 2 and number 3 at the same time, so I don't actually compound the gauge and take it out of calibration and damage my gauge. So I'm slowly going to open these up, and I'm going to start venting water from my gauge. The Watch TK99E has 5 vent ports on it. It has the high hose, the low hose, and the vent hose setting. It also has 2 vent settings on the top of the device to relieve any air venting it from the top of the device. So now we're venting this device. I'm going to shut these down because I know we've removed all the air out of the system. And then I am going to slowly turn and close off my low hose and my high hose. At this point, we can now actually take a pressure reading on our gauge to determine what our line pressure is. Our line pressure in this case looks to appear to be about 50 psi. I'm going to shut off test cock number 4, and then I'm going to force the relief port, the relief zone, to dump. By doing that, I'm going to slowly open the low hose on my device, and I'm slowly going to give it a quarter turn, and I'm going to watch the needle drop. It has to open up before it reaches 2 psi on the pressure differential gauge. I can feel some water on my hand, indicating that it opened up at 2.6 psi, which is greater than the minimum 2 psi that is required. I'm now going to close the low pressure hose, and I'm going to reestablish the pressure to my pressure differential gauge by opening up test cock number 4. I've reestablished pressure on my differential pressure gauge, and I can see on my differential pressure gauge that I have a reading of roughly 7.8 psi, a differential pressure between the high side and the low side, indicating that this spring is roughly about a 7.8 pound spring in here. I'm going to wait 2 minutes so that the pressure differential gauge stabilizes, and if it hasn't moved within the 2-minute mark, I am satisfied that check valve number 1 is holding, and it is holding tight, and it has passed check valve number 1. I'm going to shut off test cock number 3 and test cock number 2, and I'm going to move my high hose and low hose to a different position. I'm going to move the high hose to test cock number 3 and my low hose to test cock number 2. What I want to achieve here is I want to test the check valve number 2, which should have a minimum spring tension of 1 psi. I'm going to open up my vents on the back of my device because I have to bleed everything down again. So I'm going to make sure that my instrument is open for bleeding purposes. Once again, I am going to open up test cock number 3 and number 4 at the same time, again, so I don't compound the gauge. And we have water venting from the top of the device as well as from the yellow hose. I'm going to shut those down, and I'm going to shut the vent down, and I should have a reading of 1 psi on this gauge. So now we're registering just over 1 psi. So the minimum spring that is allowed on check valve number 2 is a minimum of a 1 pound spring. We're going to shut off all our test cocks, disconnect our gauges, drain our testing device. Our final test, we can check for gauge pressure by hooking up a test gauge to test cock number 1. We open it up, allow the air out of our hose, tighten it back on, and then we can record our gauge pressure. Our gauge pressure is about 52 psi. Bleed down our test cocks and put it back into service. For Red River College, I'm Rick Carvello.